What up, Masters? Welcome to another episode of Path to Mastery. Today, we're with Hallie Warner, who kind of debunked the whole jack of all trades, master of none thing. I really hadn't thought about it before, but after the conversation with her, I realized that you can actually be a master of a lot of things, and that is the mastery in itself. So I learned a lesson today on Path to Mastery, and I hope you really enjoy this episode. Masters, listen, bringing back the boot camp June 2nd, 1 to 2 p.m. Everything you need to be successful now and no matter where this future brings us, my friends. Dealing with sellers, all types of sellers, from bank-owned properties, dealing with banks, all the way to absentee owners, expireds, for sale by owners, social media, wholesaling opportunities, voice drops. I'm teaching you everything I know, my friends. Starting June 2nd. Listen, go to the site right now. Get yourself registered. There's only 22 seats left. Go to davidihill.com/2020 bootcamp. davidihill.com/2020 bootcamp. This is full accountability. These are assignments. We're going all in, my friends. We're going all in together. Hey, what's up, Masters? Welcome to another episode of Path to Mastery. And today we're with our good friend, Hallie Warner. Hallie, what's going on?
Hey, I was going to say not much, but that's not actually true. There's a whole lot going on.
I know in your life and who you work with, there's always a lot going on. So thanks for spending a few minutes with us today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And for people who don't know you, you are the chief of staff for Mr. Adam Hergenrother, actually the founder and CEO of having Adam Hergenrother Companies. Let me slow it down a little bit, right? Co-author of The Founder and the Force Multiplier, a great book. As a matter of fact, you can get the book on Audible, which I would recommend everybody doing right now. Just go to Audible, get yourself a great copy, and you can actually get a free copy at davidsfreebook.com. So thanks, Hallie, for that. And you're just a rock star. I know Adam personally. I got to spend a lot of time with the whole crew last year. You, Adam, the rest of his team, and you guys are really high level. And I appreciate you, like I said, spending some time with us. Anything you want to tell us about yourself before we jump into this conversation on jack of all trades?
Well, I do love asking questions, so I'm really excited for this conversation because I'd love to hear. First of all, what prompted you to post? The whole discussion was started from something you posted on Facebook. So what prompted you to post that?
Oh, you're interviewing me now. I like it. Honestly, it's funny. I had a team member and he was putting his own listings on and not only putting his own listings on, but we had recently switched and we needed to update our marketing. So I sent him some templates, but yet he wanted to go in what's it called? Canva, I think, and do his own. So I'm like, well, dude, why don't you use the templates? No, and then he had made a comment and he said, I'm the jack of all trades. And I said, well, the jack of all trades is actually the master of none. And then somehow he just shot out the ending of the quote, which I've never heard before. And I should have that in front of me right now, but it's something along the lines of, do you know what the end of that
No,
quote is?
I don't.
Oh my gosh, it's
when
terrible.
You say it, I'll know it. But
so I got to find it because we had this whole big thread, which is what created this. But it was something along the lines of master of none, but oftentimes better than some, right? So my thought process is: do you really want to be oftentimes better than some, or would you rather be a master? And anyway, it just all went downhill from there. He actually stumped me because I never heard the ending and I was speechless. Just like, okay, I'm not sure where to go with that. And then the next day I just decided, we weren't going to be in business together and he can do, everything he wants to do himself, and which is fine. Right. But anyway, long story short, it prompted this post on social media, which I said, I would like to hear your thoughts and opinions of someone who is a jack of all trades. And then you were I think the first person to respond real quickly with a link to the Founder and Force Multiplier, which was great. And I love that. And then, but there was just a lot of debate back and forth.
Yeah.
I was surprised on how many people, go one way versus the other way. So when you hear jack of all trades, what do you think? What does that mean to you?
Well, so I mean, that whole debate is so interesting because I don't think there is necessarily a cut and dry answer, because I do think it's different for different individuals, right? So in the instance that you're talking about, maybe on your team, you really do want to develop specialists. Or when I'm going to a surgeon, I want a specialist for that, right?
Yeah.
But in other areas, there's certainly the place for a Jack or a Jill of all trades. There's certainly a place in the world for these more generalized, skilled individuals. And in my opinion, what I was referring to is that executive assistants and chiefs of staff, which is what we refer to as force multipliers, are really, I mean, I am a generalist, and that's actually why I thrive in that role, because I have a generalized knowledge of a lot of things, and I can see all these disparate pieces of information, connect the dots, and then help a leader, a visionary, make the best decisions by synthesizing all this information really quickly, and then moving forward. So I do think there's a place for it in that case. But there's also a place for specialists and for people who are not, have all this, general knowledge and who have really specific talents, and who master something. And then I would argue I'm a master at being a generalist, right? I don't know.
So that was actually what kind of occurred to me at the end, after reading all the threads. And I actually think you're a master at mastering all the tasks, right? It's not like you're just randomly doing all these different things. It's like that's your specific role.
Yes.
Right. So
I think so. But in the case that you were just talking about, because then the whole debate about leverage comes into play, right? Which is what we talk about constantly in like the real estate or the sales world. Like if you are going to go be a sales person, most salespeople are not good at administrative or operational tasks. Could somebody do all of it? Yes. Should they? Probably not. And then I would argue really on the generalist side, like, for example, in my case, yeah, I'm good at a lot of different things, but does that mean I should go do sales? No. I should stay in the, leadership realm and know a lot about everything in that realm. I still think that you can still like master different industries or master different frames of thinking, without necessarily being a specialist in one specific area.
Yeah. I mean, well, when you say generalist, so define generalist for us as opposed to specialist or master, right?
Yeah,
Mastery.
I don't know if I have a perfect definition for that. My definition of it is more about a wide variety of knowledge and being really learning based. And I'm not a knowledge expert in, real estate. I have a lot of knowledge about real estate, but I'm not a knowledge expert in that. I'm not necessarily a knowledge expert in coaching and training or in leadership, and I really have a knowledge in all of those areas. But where I think sometimes it comes into the generalist, to me, means that they're adaptable. Not that a specialist can't be adaptable, but having that ability to flex their skills or jump in and handle a lot of different things and being comfortable and confident handling all of those things is all about adaptability. And sometimes if you spend all your time focused on one thing, you're not able to adapt as quickly.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think I'm pretty good at a lot of things. I don't know that I think there's some things I'm really good at, and there's other things I'm not so good at, but I can do a lot of things. I think another thing that really created this conversation or this dialogue was there were a lot of people who they tried to throw out examples of, well, geez, this person does this and they did that. Well, in one example on the Facebook thread was Michael Jordan played baseball.
Yeah.
Well, sure. But did you see his baseball career? I mean, Michael Jordan is an example of somebody that physically, athletically was able to play baseball, and he was able to play golf at a high level. But his one thing, really what he mastered, was basketball.
Yes.
He didn't master baseball or golf, although he was a really good golfer, and he was probably a good enough to make pro. I don't even know if he was good enough to make pro. I think he was just Michael Jordan, so they let him play baseball, right?
Probably. I don't know. Yeah. Well, and this conversation actually sparked another conversation that I was having online, that somebody was saying, I have all of these different businesses, and I'm, diversifying my income streams, and, why should I only go focus on one thing? And that, to me, that's not really the point. Like that, we teach that you should diversify, you should have multiple income streams. That doesn't mean that, to me, that you're a specialist necessarily in any one, except perhaps being a specialist in being a visionary, or a specialist in being somebody who can build a business and make it profitable and sell it. So I think that maybe it's just getting really like into the nuances of it, because now, that being said, though, I imagine if we looked at that person's businesses, they'd all be in potentially in a general field, maybe mortgage, title, real estate, maybe some sort of outlier, like, I don't know, maybe some sort of direct to consumer business, but they may not go open a restaurant, or they might not go, open I'm trying to think, like a yoga studio or something. It didn't, it wasn't in their general realm of knowledge. So I do think there's a place for diversification. That doesn't necessarily mean you're a specialist or a generalist. It's just good business.
Yeah. I think the other thing is having people. I think Adam's a good example of that. And obviously Gary Keller, Gary started an investment group years ago, and he said, I'm going to go find a kid that just got out of college that studied economics and all that, and he's going to run my investment group for me, right? Mm-hmm. Or I'm going to start a business, whatever, one thing certification, and this guy's going to run that for me. So although he's got a lot of things going, he's not actually doing them all. So maybe he's a master at managing or leading people where I'm not. That's probably not one of my skills.
Hiring the right people and holding them accountable to the results. I mean, that's his zone of genius.
Adam's probably got a lot of that too, right? He's got a lot of people that work for him, and he's got a high level business. I realized, and it humbled me that's probably not one of my greatest strengths, is because I get frustrated. I'm getting impatient. But then someone else said, well, you might be not hiring the right people as well. So that can come into it as well. Because I can find myself trying to do a lot of different things, and I just want to focus on what I feel like if I focus on what I'm really, really good at, I'm going to get to the highest level. So I think a lot of people listening to this, and we see this in real estate all the time. It's so common where you have an agent, they get into the business, and they're going to do their own marketing, they're going to do their own listings, they're going to do the transactions, they're going to do the photos, and they're going to, and then they don't realize they spend all their time doing all this stuff, and they get no business. Masters, listen, bringing back the boot camp, June 2nd, 1 to 2 p.m. Everything you need to be successful now and no matter where this future brings us, my friends. Dealing with sellers, all types of sellers, from bank-owned properties, dealing with banks, all the way to absentee owners, expireds, for sale by owners, social media, wholesaling opportunities, voice drops. I'm teaching you everything I know, my friends. Starting June 2nd, listen, go to the site right now. Get yourself registered. There's only 22 seats left. Go to davidihill.com/2020 bootcamp. davidihill.com/2020 bootcamp. This is full accountability. These are assignments. We're going all in, my friends. We're going all in together. Again, stop your recording now. Go to davidihill.com/2020 bootcamp. Get registered and enjoy Hallie. You rock.
Yeah. And so to me, is it really like a specialist and generalist conversation, or is it just is it a behavior and a skill set conversation, right? Because somebody who, that agent that you're talking about, we definitely want to get them we want to get them leverage and get them out of marketing and admin and ops, but maybe they can work with both buyer, sellers, and commercial. Maybe they can't, right? Because you want them to specialize even more, but I'm just saying, that at least again is in one sort of behavioral, fits into the behavior of that person, or into that skill set of that person, not necessarily that whole other piece, which, I mean, all we teach Adam and I teach is leverage. I mean, we're huge proponents of leverage, but within that leverage, I do believe there can be generalists who in specific roles. And I think that's,
I think so for me, when you talk about a generalist, like I think you're good at even being a general, you're a specialist at being a generalist. Like your specialty is being able to manage all these tasks, right? And that in itself is a form of mastery. Right. Yes, but it's most people they can't do that. And that's what you're I don't know, compensated for. That's your role. That's where you're effective. You wrote a book on it. Right. But that's not most people. And I think the other side of that is the guy that's doing 15 different things and he's doing none of them, and somebody else made a point on here. They said, and I cracked up. He's like, yeah, the jack of all trades is typically the handyman, right? And I got a kick out of that because that was the first thing I thought of. And it's like, yeah, you're a handyman, and I don't know any handymen out there that are killing it.
Well, yeah, okay, but I think like, okay, let's translate that to that. They're the Swiss Army knife. They know exactly what tool to pull out at what time to implement to what situation to get the job done, right? Sure. So
yeah, okay,
that's
fair enough. Well, so I don't think either of us are gonna win this conversation. So I think it can go both ways. And I think it's just a conversation about really focusing and just making a decision, right? I think ultimately we're going to make a decision, what am I really good at? And I feel for me, if I focus on what I'm really good at, I'm going to be more successful, and I'm going to have more satisfaction in my life, right? More fulfillment. And if No, I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
I was actually listening to a Ray Dalio podcast this morning, and he said the very similar thing, that yes, get really self-aware, understand what you're great at and understand what you are not so great at, and then go hire, as you were talking about earlier, hire the people to really round out your team or round out your life who will be able to do those other various tasks. And some of those people that you hire are going to be specialists, and some of those people that you hire are going to be generalists. And I think that either one is okay, as long as it's the right one for the role.
Yeah. So to that point, if you hire a lot of people, when you go to hire somebody, are you looking for a specialist or are you looking for a generalist?
Really,
or does it depend
on what role I'm looking for and what leader I'm hiring for? Yeah. It's not, I mean, when we're looking for somebody on our team, we're like an agent on our team, we're likely going to be looking for somebody who's really amazing at sales, who wants to master sales, who wants a career in sales. But we just hired a new executive assistant, and she comes from a law office where she has a broad range of knowledge on a lot of really amazing topics. That's going to serve her really, really well in the executive assistant role, where she is dealing with 6 different companies, 4 different initiatives, sure. 50 employees, 400 independent contractors. Sure. So her range of knowledge is going to be really valuable in that role.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the CEO.
When I hire a CFO, I want him to be a specialist.
Yeah. So how many? What would you think of, like, if I don't know? It's just as a guess question for you, but in the population, how many people do you think would have the skills to really be able to be high level at all those little tasks at the same time, like percentage wise? Less than 20% of the people?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It depends
10%?
What task are you talking about? Like administrative?
I'm talking about somebody like to run an organization from an administrative,
I think there's a lot more of them than you think, but not. You're right. Probably not many that could do it at a super, super, super high level. But there's a lot. I mean, I can't remember the stat. I pulled it not too long ago for a project I was working on, but there are millions and millions and millions of administrative professionals and like operational professionals in the country. So there's a lot of people who do those skill sets and manage all those tasks, millions of them. They're not all working at Fortune 500 companies for, major or for multi-passionate entrepreneurs, but there's different levels of any job, right?
Sure. Well, I have more of a respect now for the Jack or Jill of all trades. So more so, I you asked me 2 weeks ago, I said that doesn't exist. That's a joke. But now I've shifted my thinking a little bit. What would you say though is the challenge? And I mean, you wrote a book on this stuff. You run an organization. What would you say is the biggest challenge with most people though when it comes to trying to focus on so many different things at the same time?
That's an actually interesting question, because even though I have all of those different, I'm not focused on many different things at once. I'm extremely focused on what needs to get done every single day. Maybe every day is a little different, but, or there's a million different things that come up during that time, but I still have that vision that I'm going to. I've got that 5-year vision. I've got our quarterly objectives. I'm still incredibly focused on what needs to get done and on the results. And managing it all is just having really great project management skills and holding yourself accountable and holding other people accountable to getting those results and being highly organized. I mean, I know it sounds simple, but I mean, it really is. I'm not unfocused at all or distracted at all. We know where we're going and we just stay focused on that.
So how do you deal with so many different tasks going on at the same, or so many different things happening? And do you just hyper focus on one and ignore everything else? Or are you able to jump around, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I don't really have too much of that anymore in my role. But when I did, and when we were training this new EA, it's managing people's expectations. Not everything is an emergency. In fact, very few things are. So it's communicating really, really well with your leaders and anybody who may interrupt you and say, okay, great, I'm working on this right now. I can get that to you in 24 hours. Does that work? More often than not, the answer is going to be yes. Or 2 hours or whatever it is, but it's having ownership over your work, taking control over your priorities. And then, I mean, really you do have to reprioritize constantly. But when you know where you're going, that stuff almost takes care of itself if you're really clear on where you're going. And we just make sure we're crystal clear on where we're going with our company, and with each position, not just long-term, but also on a quarterly, monthly, and then a weekly basis.
Interesting. Well, I can tell you, I'm not going to be doing any photography stuff anytime soon, or or any listing. Although I can do it, and I think I'm pretty good at it. But
you know where I think the sticking point is that those aren't the dollar producing. Those aren't your highest dollar producing activities for you, right? Mine are my highest dollar producing activities for me in my position for the business, and those are going to be different than yours.
Yeah. All right. What should I have? Anything I missed? What didn't I ask you? Or
I don't know. It was great. Great conversation. I was going to read this quote because I feel like it kind of proves my point a little bit. So I was going to read it.
Yeah. Well,
it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. That's from Darwin. And I think it just kind of goes back to the conversation we're having. It's not necessarily about the tasks or what you're doing. It's about adaptability, and that's like the new business buzzword is adaptability quotient. It's not emotional intelligence. It's the adaptability quotient, and how adaptable and responsive are you going to be to change, whether that's you're mastering something or whether you're going to be more of a generalist. Doesn't really matter. You've got to adapt.
Yeah, I agree. And that was the what you posted, the quote you posted, I think, on the Facebook.
Oh, maybe.
Right. I think so. Yeah. You posted a link to the book. So thanks for that. I feel like masters will adapt. You could be a master and you can still be able to adapt. You may not adapt out of you just may adapt within your skill set of mastery, right? Like if you looked at, like somebody that's a kung fu master, right? They're always adapting to the situation and to what's coming at them, right? But they're still masters.
Yeah, right? I don't disagree with you at all. I think that here's what I think. I think that there is a place for both. There's a place for both of those individuals in this world. You just need to figure out where they fit within your organization, within your community, what impact that individual wants to have on the world, how you want to bring them into your world to have an impact on something else. I don't think there's certainly not a right or wrong.
Fair enough. Yeah.
There's not a right or wrong. It's just where are they in the ecosystem of the world?
Yeah, that's it. No, it's a great point. I think the point I was trying to make, and I don't know if I made it or not, or maybe I never will, because most people are going to be like, who cares what you say? I think a lot of people just spend too much time on stuff they're not that great at. And I'm the perfect example of somebody who's done that. And if I spent my time in other areas, I'd be further along than where I am, right? Or anybody for that matter. I mean, where I want to be is I'll never be satisfied with probably where I am, but still, I always I want to grow and I want to be the best. And for me, it's about focusing on what I'm really, really good at and what I'm passionate about. So,
yeah, as you should. And I don't think I spend any time on anything that I'm not good at either. I just happen to be good at the Swiss Army knife role. But like I said, I'm not doing sales, right? Well, I'm not doing sales because I would suck at that. I'm not doing marketing because that's not my wheelhouse either. So I totally agree with you. You should never be spending time on things that we're not good at.
Awesome. Well, listen, I just want to say I appreciate you doing this. If anybody wants to get in touch with you or they want to get a copy of your book, what should they be doing?
Go to adamhergenrother.com and you can find all sorts of things about our world there.
Awesome. And wrap it up for us. Like if somebody just tuned in right now and they didn't hear anything else, what's the one thing you want them to walk away with?
Yeah. Whether you are a master or a generalist or a specialist, does not really matter. Make sure that you are adaptable, understand who you are, understand yourself, and then make sure that you are figuring out what role you're going to play in the world that best suits you and your skill set.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. Hey, before you jump on to what's next, I just want to thank you for checking out the show. And if you like what you heard, please give me a review on iTunes. It helps tremendously. It helps us get guests, and I just so appreciate it. And if you want, send me an email, and I will read your review right here on the podcast. Email me, david@davidihill.com. Again, I want to thank you. Check out our sponsors. I appreciate our sponsors. Without them, we can't do this. Vulcan7.com for your expired FSBOs, all that stuff. CRM, Vulcan7.com/path to mastery. Again, David's free book. Get yourself a free audiobook. And health and nutrition, is number one to me. So check out Advocare products, which are tremendous products. As a matter of fact, Patrick Mahomes uses the products. So go to livelongersmarter.com. Again, livelongersmarter.com to check out health and nutrition products. My friends, again, I appreciate you listening to the show. You rock.